Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. What's it take to get that successful claim? Let me tell you about the easiest claim to file. That's it. Hit the thumbs up, subscribe, share with a friend, all that good stuff. I really appreciate it. I've done videos like this before in the past, and I'm doing it again because, look, the bottom line is that there's way more of us that have no clue than those that do have a clue. So it's important that you hit that thumbs up, let the video run out. If you want to support the channel more, please consider being a member. I appreciate that. There's a join button somewhere on the home page next to our members. If you're on your cell phone, there's a whole list of little, members pictures that run across the home page there. So thank you guys so much. It helps me to find you quicker in the comments as well. So jumping into it, the easiest claim, and like I've said before, I've done this before. First thing you need to realize is every single claim is unique to you, right? What one person has, you may not have. So who cares how easy it is for them? You need to worry about what's easy for you. So knowing yourself and knowing your conditions is the first thing. Now, here's the kind of working backwards piece, right? Some reverse planning. You need to be able to nexus your condition. You need to be able to prove somehow, some way that your condition either A, manifested during your time in service or is as a result of your time in service. So one of those things, right? You need to be able to tie that in. Now, the easiest way is to be diagnosed for a condition or have some sort of a issue documented during your time in service, because that creates that link between your condition and your time in service. This is often a piece of the pie that is difficult and causes the VA to decline your service connection, right? Reject it. Just hit it out of the way. So you want to give the VA what they're looking for. So a successful claim is really 3 pillars is what I call it. You got 1, your time in service. You need to show that you have time in service. Number 2 is you need to have a diagnosed condition. You need to prove that you have that condition. You can't just say I have X. Self-diagnosing doesn't count. So you need to have an actual diagnosis. That diagnosis ideally is for something that is chronic in nature or has some sort of residual effects, right? It's an ongoing problem. The third thing is that nexus that I just talked about. That nexus is vital. You must show that your condition, your diagnosed condition, again, either manifested during your time in service or is a result of your time in service. So now that you know the main components, what I suggest people to do is look, if you're filing for the first time, or if you're just trying to find another thing to file for that you can get service connected for, the best thing to always do is to start off with the low-hanging fruit. Okay, the low-hanging fruit would be, let me review or order, so I can review my service treatment records. Sometimes you'd be surprised what you may have written in there. So even if it's a self-attesting form where it's, hey, during an exit evaluation or what have you now or have you ever experienced any of these conditions? And it has a list of 80 different conditions, right? And it could include things like migraines, painful swollen joints, heart palpitations, heartburn, right? It just kind of goes on and on, right? So you're checking, yes, no, not applicable. So even that form becomes a way to have a nexus, right? If you self-attest to something during your time in service, and then you build on that with your doctor your current doctor getting a diagnosis for you and providing a nexus letter, all of that stuff combined is evidence in your favor. And that's very, very important. So making sure that you go through your service treatment records to find anything that you've talked about, complained about, self-attested to, anything like that is still a problem today, could be something you could potentially get service connected. So that's going to be your kind of the low-hanging fruit for your nexus stuff. The next stage is, okay, I don't have anything on this condition, and often it'll be things like, I hurt my back and I never complained about it. I just rubbed some dirt on it and moved forward. or I twisted my knee or my ankle or whatever. I just limped it off, but it's always bothered me ever since. Or I've had migraines, or I've had heartburn, or I've had sinusitis, or whatever the case is. My whole time through my military service, and I just, kind of dealt with it however I could, right? My migraines, I just got some Motrin from the medic or the corpsman. I got some antacid from the medic or the corpsman. I went to the grocery store and I bought those things, and I always had them with me, and I just kind of dealt with it. And that's fine. The problem, though, is that you didn't document any of it during your time in service. Now, there's a little window outside of your service, that 1 year window. If you've been out for within 1 year, right, 1 day to 1 year, and you went and got diagnosed for that condition, the VA presumes the majority of these disease type things, right? So like migraines and GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disease, bad heartburn, they will presume that that is during your time in service. So they will kind of give you the nexus on that. Now, if you're outside of that 1 year window, what's going to happen? You're going to need to build a bridge back, is what I call it. You're going to need to build that bridge back to your time in service. And now you can do that with letters from yourself, right? Explaining the situation. I like the GERD one and I like the migraine one for examples. I would just get my Motrin from the medic or corpsman. I would just go to the grocery store. I just always had it on me. I just took those and I moved on. I never really thought there was anything else you could do for it until whatever. Recently, when I saw a commercial about whatever, and so I talked about it with my doctor, and then they diagnosed me, right? So you can write a letter explaining why you never got diagnosed when you were in and why you never complained about it. So that takes away the reason why you weren't diagnosed, right? Then you can get letters from maybe a spouse saying, oh yeah, the person's always had, my husband or my wife has always had migraines or gastroesophageal reflux disease, GERD, ever since we've been together, 2 years into his service or her service. And that letter will help to support the nexus. Then if you have anybody that you served with that can attest to the same thing, a little paragraph letter basically stating this is all lay evidence and it will help you. Even if you have to push it to the Board of Veterans Appeals and then they will view it, they will give weight to this evidence. Then you can work with your doctor and explain the situation to your doctor and have your doctor write the nexus letter. Remember that your proof that you need to provide is really the threshold is equal. So that's why you'll always hear people say, at least likely as not. At least likely as not. This condition is at least likely as not to have manifested during the veteran's time in service, or something to that effect. Now, you can ask them to write, it is more than likely to have manifested, and that's fine too, right? I'm just saying that your minimum threshold is 50-50. If your evidence is in equipoise, equal on both sides, the VA's to rule in your favor. Now, sometimes they'll get that wrong, of course, and you'll need to appeal it and go that route, but you should get taken care of if the evidence is indeed equal on both sides. So with that, keep an eye on your conditions, your situation, your secondary conditions, your nexus conditions that you can prove in some way. Focus on those. Those are the easiest ones to get approved, not somebody else's that you don't have. I'll tell you that. So thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you. Have a great one. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.